I know some people. Hi, everyone. So this is make and receive offers. And it's been quite some time since I taught this, and a lot has changed through COVID. And I love to have discussions throughout the class. So I am going to ask questions, ask you to give some feedback. And of course, for you guys to ask a lot of questions as we go through. So I'm interested in learning. I don't need much more information except how long you've been a real estate agent, and maybe tell me how many transactions you've done in the last 12 months so I can gauge the experience here in this classroom. And if you can't unmute, just put it in the chat for us. Okay. So you could just, Kirk.
I just started. I finished my second shadowing this weekend, and everything's still new to me. So that's where I'm at.
Your second shadowing, you said?
Yeah, well, before I can, do an open house for someone, I have to shadow someone twice.
Great.
And then after that, but I feel there's still a lot to know.
Okay, that's great. And what market set are you from?
Right in New City.
In Rockland. Okay, great. All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Barb?
Hi, good morning. I've done 2 deals in the last year with other agencies. I've switched over to Keller. So I consider myself very new, but everything I do, I learn. So
That's great.
Little deals that I did made it, you make mistakes and you figure it out, and
Very good. Thanks, Barb. Katrina, how long have you been a real estate agent, and do you have any transactions that you've closed?
I've been a real estate agent for 2.5 months, and I just did my first offer.
Great. Awesome. Sherry? Thanks, Katrina.
Hi, I've been an agent for 2 years now. Last year, I probably did 12 closings.
Awesome. All right. So I'm going to be looking at you to give some feedback in this too, right? Because you're in the mix of it. All right. Thanks, Sherry. Andrea? I don't remember who can and can't come off. Maybe not. Teresa?
In the chat. Okay.
Oh, good. There's Andrea. Thank you.
I've been an agent for 6 months now, and I'm on my second deal.
Awesome. Congrats. Thanks for coming, Teresa.
Thanks.
Or Cassie. Cassie, you might not be able to talk. People might be putting it in the chat too. If Emily, Monique, or Lisa want to come off quick, if they're able to.
We have just a couple. Teresa's been licensed for 1.5 years on her 4th transaction.
Awesome.
Cassie has been an agent for about 7 months. She's working with a couple of buyers, a seller.
Sweet.
And Emily is brand new, so she's here to have transactions under her belt.
I love it. I love it. And so that one seller, Cassie, perhaps you have a listing coming up. That's exciting. I know you might not be able to come off, but that's awesome. So we have a lot of new agents, and it sounds like we have some experience with getting started, and then Sherry with maybe a little bit more experience. So let's get started with the slides, and we'll jump right in. For me, this is like the most exciting part of real estate, right? Is the offer part, the negotiating part. So we are going to talk about, there's always the how and the what. So we're going to be talking about showing, running the business is showing buyer houses and negotiating contracts. And so we're going to be focusing on making the receiving the offers to get that all done. So let's pass over this one. Good. Okay, good. Because the last one just, go back 1 second. Let me just, so these are the things that we're going to be going through today. And we're going to start with the offer process. Okay, thank you. I don't have everything in front of me, so it's helpful for me to see the slides. All right.
Just boss me around, Allison. It's all good. Just tell me what to do. It's no problem.
No problem. All right, so once a buyer has found their perfect home, the seller starts looking forward to concluding the sale of their property, right? And this is where all the fun begins, all the magic begins. So we're going to walk through the offer process. All right, this is where your knowledge, your negotiating skills, your experience all comes into play. Okay. You know, showing homes, I think, is the easier part of real estate. You know, it's the negotiating and placing the competitive offers that really takes more of the skill. Although I can't always say showing homes is always very easy, because half the time I can't open the box or get the key in the door or unlock the door sometimes. So that is oftentimes challenging. But you know, right now, what can you guys share with me what you're seeing and feeling in the market? What do you guys know about the market right now? Right, which plays a huge part in how we are preparing buyers and placing offers.
Limited inventory.
Limited inventory. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one thing that concerns me is, because there's a bit of a frenzy with being a strong seller's market, there's a temptation to waive the inspection. And, you know, other than institutional investors, I really highly recommend not to skip that with my clients. So
It's a good point. We'll talk about that. And it's not anything that I would never, and I agree with you. You know, if it's an investor who's going to flip a house and they know that they're going to, you know, rip a lot of it out and redo a lot of stuff, that's one thing. But with a buyer who's going to live in that home, I never recommend, waiving the inspection. It's so crazy. What are the emotions right now, right? We're going to be talking about buyers first. What are some of the emotions that buyers are going through right now?
They're
Whether it's
stressed out.
Go ahead, Sherry.
I said they're extremely stressed out. A lot of my buyers, they're automatically thinking everything's gonna be highest and best. So they're, you know, they definitely have a lot of anxiety in this market.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some other people seeing as far as like buyer emotions? You know, what we might be seeing right now is buyer exhaustion. You know, if we have buyers who've placed many offers on properties, buyer exhaustion sets in and they get overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed out, all of the above. And their excitement and eagerness kind of fades. And they also feel, you know, rejection after rejection after rejection. It's not going to happen for them. And so they take a pause. And sometimes that's a very long pause, right? So we have some buyers that may drop out. And then, of course, you have like those buyers, like Sherry mentioned, going in like super strong. And then there's the buyers who just want to get the win, right? Who are going in like super high just to get a win. And there's, you know, a lot of things to consider when you're reviewing all those offers. All right, so buyer makes an offer. Seller can respond in 3 ways, right? They can counter the offer, which really is like it's rejecting the offer, but going back to them to negotiate. They could accept the offer or reject the offer altogether. Okay. Negotiation begins the contract to close. Buyer agent contacts listing agent to learn more. Don't assume. No means no. Have you ever, you know, had an offer be rejected and you go back to the listing agent, the selling agent, and to find out more information? Yeah, Barb has, Sherry has, right? It might not always end there. What else? Let's say your offer gets rejected. What's some information that you might want to find out?
Well, sometimes I ask like what's important to the seller. So maybe it's really like the closing date. Maybe they want to close as soon as possible. So I guess just asking as much information as possible, not just price oriented.
You got it. We're going to be talking about all of those things also when you're putting the offer together. But if we get an offer that's rejected, right? If we reach out to the listing agent, it might be helpful to find out how many offers there were. Are we a backup offer? Can we be placed as a backup offer? And in what place are we? Are we the first backup offer, second backup offer? Were we competitive? Because what I'm seeing right now, our deals are dying and backup offers are being utilized a lot right now, actually a lot. All right, let's go to the next slide. Preparing the offer. All right, so let's go through. There's a checklist in your, it's a write the offer checklist. We're going to go through this. Okay. Now for newer agents, if you haven't written an offer yet, somebody just said, was it Katrina? You're writing your first offer. Was that Katrina? Yes. So you're going to want to, if you have a productivity coach or a mentor or your sponsor or someone on the ALC or someone that you look up to, you're going to want to review the offer with them. You know what I mean? Like have them look over it and go through it with you. Make sure you're writing it properly and going through all the pieces to make sure you're presenting the best offer for your client. So checklist to write an offer. Do you guys have this in front of you? Some people do. I want to see more of you guys.
What pages?
I have page 4, but I don't know what page it is. And I think I have a different view than you do.
I'm trying to find it to add it to the chat just in case someone doesn't have it.
Yeah, the checklist, there are a couple checklists in here that we're going to go through, and they're very, very helpful.
Yep, I'm going to add them to the chat.
Awesome. All right. So the first one, price and terms. Consult with your buyers to arrive at the most logical offering based on the CMA and items below. All right. What's a CMA?
Comparative market analysis.
That's it. Thanks, Emily. Comparative market analysis. All right. So let's talk about the value of a CMA in today's market. Anybody want to chime in on that? Sherry.
They're coming in way low, way low. I did an open house and to help another agent, and just as a curiosity, I ran a CMA on the property, and it was listed for $40,000 over what the CMA recommended, and then it went for more than that.
Right. So, okay. So the validity and the use of a CMA now in this market, what is the value of that in working with a buyer?
Oh.
Think about it. Is there real value? I mean, it depends. So you have to put it in terms of, you're showing the market value of the home, but when it's listed, the house is listed $50,000 to $100,000 over that. How much of a tool is the CMA for you, right? It's really to educate your buyer in this market, not necessarily to come up with the number for your offer. And why is that? Because we know that an offer $50,000 less than asking, right, is probably not going to win the deal, correct? No, it's not going to win the deal, right? So a CMA right now is sharing the current market value, but it's not playing much of a part in helping us come to a reasonable offer for our buyers. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? A couple of years ago, it would. I would say, 2.5, 3 years ago, if you ran a CMA and you got the current market value, you could probably, you might be able to offer $5,000 or $10,000 under asking price. It was possible back then, and then negotiate. And, most homes are selling for above ask right now, or it's very competitive with multiple offers, a significant amount of offers, unless the house, I'm seeing two situations here, unless the house is grossly overpriced or it's distressed and the condition is very bad and becomes like more of an undesirable property. But for the most part, we're seeing homes that are being sold in just a couple days. correct? For the people out there, right? In just a couple days. So a CMA, you can certainly use it to know the value, but it's not going to be our biggest tool in guiding our buyers to, what they should be offering. All right, seller's disclosure, review this disclosure. This is the second point on the checklist. Review this disclosure with your client and find out whether there are any deal breakers. All right, in New York State, and I think this is what they're talking about. In New York State, we have a property condition disclosure that our sellers, they're almost always advised to not complete this. And the sellers give a $500 credit at closing to not complete the property condition disclosure. So this doesn't really apply. And has anyone here seen a seller complete a property condition disclosure? I've seen it once. I've been a real estate agent for 4.5 years, so I've seen it once, but most attorneys will tell them not to complete it. So, all right, conveyances. This is the third box here, bullet. Consider what times in the home will transfer or convey to the buyer. Typically attached fixtures stay and movable items go. In some areas, okay. So you want to just make sure that you're noting when you're writing the offer, what appliances are staying in the house. If there's any fixtures, light fixtures or window treatments that are staying, you're going to want to note that on the offer as well. Most of that is already stated in the MLS listing, but sometimes there's something excluded. I've made a mistake once where I didn't put the dishwasher in a listing, but the buyer's agent wrote it on the offer, and they called and they said, listen, I wrote dishwasher on the offer because it was excluded from the MLS listing, but I noticed that there is a dishwasher there. And I said, oh, that's my bad. I accidentally omitted it. So don't assume that the MLS listing is always correct. Okay. Do your due diligence for your client and make sure that you're listing everything on the offer that's included with the home. Earnest money. So earnest money, just show of hands does everyone understand what earnest money is? You show, if I could see. Kirk, yeah. Okay, all right. Sherry, do you know what earnest money is? Right? Earnest money.
Honestly, I don't. I feel like everyone in Rockland just says, oh, we don't use earnest money, or like that term.
Okay, all right, good.
Like, do you know what I'm confused about? Maybe not, sorry.
Do I know what you're confused about? Yeah, it may just be terminology, to be quite honest. So earnest money is the money that's put down at signing of contract. That's earnest money. Same thing, just maybe a different term.
You know what it is, Allison, in other areas of the country, they take a binder check or a deposit on contract because they go right to contract.
They go straight to contract.
It's a term that's not really comparable to our area.
Got it.
It's used in other parts of the country.
Yeah, like I just use it's like the down payment.
Well,
for contract signing.
Down payment includes the earnest deposit, right? The money that's given at signing of contract plus the remainder at closing. So for instance, I'll give an example. Let me put it in terms, right? $400,000 house, and they're going to put 20% down. 20% of 400,000 is $80,000 down. They're not going to put all $80,000 as an earnest deposit. They may put $20,000 at signing of contract. The remainder, the cash at closing, is $60,000. Okay, so the earnest deposit is $20,000. The rest cash at closing is $60,000. The whole down payment is $80,000. Does that make sense? Give me one of these. Yeah. Okay. All right. Time for seller acceptance. Be sure to specify the time of acceptance. All right. This is something that really doesn't apply in New York, but I have seen something like this lately where I've gotten offers, strong offers in within the first 24 hours of a listing going live. And the offer may say something like, here's our offer. It's $30,000 over ask. Perhaps it's a cash deal, and we're giving you until midnight tonight to accept it and put the property temporarily off market. So I've gotten offers like that. a little bit of a bullish way to place an offer. But if somebody really wants the property and they're trying to squeeze out the competition, you may see a deadline placed on an offer. But otherwise, time for seller acceptance is typically not dictated by the buyer. In other states, it is. I think they have, right? Erin, have you seen it? They may have 48 or 72 hours to sign or something.
Yeah, in other areas, there's a certain amount of time for signing of contracts, a certain amount of time for attorney review and inspections. I've seen that in other places.
Right. So we have 10 days. We have 10 business days for inspection. Or no. It might even go over the weekend. We have 10 days to have inspections conducted. Right. And that's typically written on the offer as well. All right. Financing terms. Make sure the financing terms would be agreeable to your buyer and the seller. Okay. So loan approval. What kind of financing can we have? We can have conventional financing. We can have VA loans. We could have FHA loan financing. It could be cash. It could be a private loan. It could be hard money. Right. So these are all things that you need to be able to identify what kind of offer, what kind of funding does your buyer have? And obviously you're going to have a pre-approval and you should be familiar with how much cash your buyers have, what they're putting down, what they're borrowing, definitely what type of financing it is. And they need to have their pre-approval before you start taking them out. So let me just say this. During COVID, you couldn't even really show homes unless the buyer had their pre-approval because that was a requirement of the seller. Sellers didn't want a lot of people coming through their homes. They needed a pre-approval. But why is it such good practice for buyers agents, for their buyers to have pre-approval before you take them out?
Because you don't want to waste your time.
Yeah, don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. There's plenty of people out there that will waste your time. They like to go look at homes. They think they can buy a house. They have no idea they need a pre-approval. They have no idea the process, right? And so part of this is that you need to educate them. And the first, you have a buyer consult and they don't have a pre-approval. One of the first things you're going to do is connect them with a trusted lender, give them 3 names where they can, talk to all 3 and see who they're comfortable with and get their pre-approval. And perhaps it's a learning curve for them. Maybe they're not in a financial position to buy, but having that connection with the lender gets them on the path to getting ready to buy or, getting their finances in order. Maybe they need a higher credit score. They need to save more money. Okay. So they absolutely need a pre-approval loan approval. So I've been doing something with my buyers right now. And a couple lenders are helping me with this is I'm having my buyers get their commitment letter for their loan before we place an offer. Okay. So rather than the buyer go under contract and then have to provide and furnish all of their documentation, their tax forms and what have you, I'm asking them to do it up front, work with a lender who will give them a commitment in advance. They've provided all their documents already, their W-2s, 1099s, whatever it is. And all they need then is the appraisal for the bank and everything else is done. So it's strengthening your offer. Okay. Closing date. You want to put a closing date on the offer. I'm seeing some closings as early as 45 days, but municipalities and municipal reports seem to be taking a long time. So you want to push this out probably 60 days on an offer. So if you're writing an offer today, I would do, May 9th, May 10th for closing estimated. And then go ahead, Sherry.
Sorry. So I've only been an agent during the pandemic. So my question is, prior to COVID, would it still take that long for the municipals to come back? Like, is that average on 60 days? Because I keep, even the deals that I've had, we're constantly waiting for that. So is that kind of a normal thing, or is it just because of the pandemic, things have been slow?
So oftentimes the municipal report can be the last thing that's needed to get clear to close. That's pretty common before and during, and chances are after. But municipalities were taking longer than usual because they had less people in the office. And we
Yeah, like
had
my
more.
first deals were like ridiculous because of it, but I
Yeah.
was just curious if it normally takes this long or.
Shouldn't take that long. You know, I've seen deals take 75 days. Okay, that's really on the long end of things. 45 days is pretty fast in New York, though. Like,
Okay.
and that's because of the bank and title. Now, let me just mention to you guys, we have a title affiliate right now. You all should be connecting with Kristen Pilati to use our title company. Why? Lots of reasons. But the fact that you have a direct line to the title company to find out what's going on with the municipal report, or if there's an error or an issue with title, you don't wait. You're not the last one to find out about it. Usually it goes to the attorneys, then the attorneys talk about it, and then the client gets wind of it. And maybe a week later, you're hearing that everything's held up because of some kind of lien on the property. Okay, when Kristen probably could have taken care of that, or we would have known about it. Oh, thank you, Erin. Erin just put her name and number in the chat. Okay, so it's a sure abstract. And so what's happening now, which has never happened before, is I have my buyers use this title company. Now I'm getting updates on the process of the title. I never had that before. So it's like total transparency. And you know exactly what's going on with the title. You don't have to ask an attorney anymore what's going on with the title or what are we waiting on. You'll actually have that information. So it's a huge value added also for your buyers to say to them, oh, and by the way, we have a title company affiliate and I'm involved in that whole process. So, you know, there's not going to be any surprises. Okay, so that's that. Home warranty. It's, you know what, home warranties are not, they are very popular in other states. Like in Florida, there's home warranties like on every home that's sold. And here we just don't see it, but it's an option for your clients to get a home warranty. There are companies, it's not very popular up here. So repair limits, something else we don't see on an offer because we do the inspection after the offer is accepted. Special clauses or contingencies, right? I'm at the last two bullets on this list. This is huge. Special clauses or contingencies. Nowadays, we're seeing less and less contingencies on offers because buyers are willing to surrender certain things to get the offer accepted. So what are some contingencies that can be written on an offer or need to be written on an offer if they exist?
I need to sell the house that I'm in now first.
Correct, Emily. A home sale contingency. I need to sell before I can buy. Absolutely. Are there ways around that? So the reason why I asked that, right? No one has a really good answer because it's a super hard question to answer. But in this market, our biggest challenge as agents is to get the listings, right? It's to get the listing. And one of the reasons why people aren't selling is because why? They don't know where they're going, or they need to sell before they can buy. And so what I'm finding is that the listing agents who are winning and getting listings are the agents who are able to problem solve with the sellers. Okay, which helps them find a resolution for needing to sell before they can buy, getting them in a rental or finding a property that has a rent back option. I mean, we have to start getting creative to win the listings. And so that's a hard one to get around. If you have a home to sell right now that you need to sell before you buy, those are the people typically being put at the bottom of the pile of offers. Okay. And that's a challenge because we have people that need to sell. Now there is, and soon it should be coming to New York. There's a company like Ribbon. Have you heard about them, Erin?
No.
There's two large companies right now. One of them is Ribbon, and what they're doing is they're fronting the cash to sellers. It's kind of like a bridge loan, but not quite. They're fronting the cash so sellers can write offers if they want to buy a house before they sell. And it's not here yet, but it's coming soon, right? And that would be a tremendous solution, right? For and a value added. All right, what are some of the other contingencies that we see on that need to be written on offers? Inspection, right? Barb said before, like, don't waive inspection. I would never have a buyer waive inspection. Now, I am seeing people writing, inspection for informational purposes only. And what that means is the buyer is not going to whittle down the price after the inspection. They're not going to nitpick on little things like, the trim was broken or the button's missing on the dishwasher, or whatever it is, right? They're not, that is not flying in a seller's market like we have today. So inspection for informational purposes only could be something that you talk to your buyer clients about, placing on the offer to strengthen the offer. Now, if there's a major defect with the house, there's a hole in the roof or a crack in the foundation, I mean, they can walk away, right? Or they can negotiate that, but the little things, right, are not going to be negotiated.
Alison?
Yeah.
In that case, so it's for deal breakers only, and then they would get, well, they wouldn't have put down any earnest money yet, so.
Correct. Yeah, or a defect.
Never mind.
Yeah, or a defect. Like, honestly, anything that's a safety issue is something that I talk to my buyers about presenting to a seller. Safety issues, major defects.
They would have put down earnest money, though.
No, not before inspection.
No?
After inspection. So in New York, we do inspections. And as soon as that's done, then there's signing of contract and earnest money is put down.
Oh, okay.
Okay, contracts might be sent out, but typically not signed until inspection is done. Appraisal is a contingency. And then something else I had written here in my notes, like something else that you may want to write on an offer is if you are going to put an escalation clause on your offer. Who knows? Oh, this is exciting. I love escalation clauses. Most agents hate them. They hate them. And I've actually seen listings where they say no escalation clauses, which is absolutely horrifying that they say that, because it's not up to the agent whether you accept. I've gotten so many deals done with escalation clause. William Phillip, where's William? We have a William here. Awesome, William. So William, are you able to come? Can we hear you? Are you able to talk?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, William. Can you just share maybe one experience with an escalation clause with us?
Yes. I encourage all my buyers to put an escalation clause in there. I explain to them the benefit that the buyer has. And even when a seller's agent says, I don't want escalation clauses, I try to convince them, educate them. Some people say my broker doesn't agree with it, so that's where I stop the line. Otherwise, I'll push as hard as I can to explain to the seller's agent the benefit that the seller has, because they have everything to gain. It's a lot of headache, but at the end of the day, the sellers absolutely is the biggest winner in the deal. So I push that through, and I've gotten so many deals done. At the end of the day, the max that the buyer is able to go to dictates what happens at the end, but I've gotten way past some of the other people have gotten deals done by putting that in there. It's absolutely a win-win for the buyer.
Okay, great. So you've represented a buyer utilizing an escalation clause, and have you represented a seller where an escalation clause has been
Yes.
off? Yes.
Correct.
All right,
I
so-
have an accepted offer right now on a deal where I have the buyer as well. I was able to convince that buyer the need to go to the escalation clause. She put in an amazing number and went beyond that. And additionally, this is not part of the subject, but I also got her to waive part of the appraisal up to a certain amount. So she's
Yes.
able to get the offer accepted.
Excellent. Okay, so, and let me just say, because I'll use it as an example. Will they waive any appraisal like over the asking price, what that difference is, or
Yes.
they'll cover?
So they're going a certain amount over the appraised value to.
Okay, they're going
to-
X amount over the appraised value, wherever
Right.
that comes in. Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you, William. Okay, so I'm going to explain what an escalation clause is first, and then we're gonna break this down, right? Because I would imagine not everyone knows an escalation clause. Okay, so I love them. It's a strategy. It's a strategy. Okay, you are working in the best interest of your buyers, and your job is to help them win. Okay, give them good guidance within their means to win the deal. And an escalation clause is a great way to do that. So let's say a home, I'm just going to give easy numbers. Let's say the home is listed at 300,000, and let's say it's reasonably priced, nothing crazy. Okay, reasonably priced, maybe a little bit over market value, but priced at 300,000, and your buyer is willing to go up to 350 for this house because it's down the street from her mother, and location is everything. Okay, now 50,000 over, that's a lot of money for a $300,000 house. It's just a lot of money, but she's willing to do that. But you, as as the buyer's agent, you're not just going to give her money away. Like, what if she doesn't need to give $50,000 over? This is where the escalation clause comes into play. So let's say she places an offer for 310,000. It's over asking, very appealing, but she's willing to go up to $350,000 with an escalation clause, and the increments of the escalation are at $5,000. So it's a $310,000 offer, an escalation clause that goes up to $350,000 and $5,000 increments. Okay, it works like what did we used to sell stuff on?
eBay.
Is it what?
eBay.
eBay, thank you. eBay, you put a max bid in, right? And then you offer something and somebody comes in a little bit higher and it bumps yours up. And this works exactly the same way. So let's say now there's another offer that comes in at $315,000. Where is your offer right now? It's at 320,000. Your offer just got bumped up that 5,000 to 320. Please yell right now if you're not following that, and I'll go through it again.
Just a question, really. So every time it goes up, let's say the first buyer that puts the money, you offer the money, do they know that it went up, or are they told, or are they informed that, okay, you put in 310, but now it's going up to 315? Are they informed that they should either, know their need to put more up or just forego it?
Is who informed? All the other offers, or the
Buyer.
person, the buyer with the escalation clause?
Well, I mean, you said the seller has to have an escalation clause, correct?
Well, the buyer is putting an offer in with an escalation clause.
Okay, gotcha. I misunderstood.
Okay, all right. And I may have said seller by accident, I'm sorry. So the buyer's placing an offer and the escalation clause is written on the offer, right? Now, obviously you're in communication with the listing agent to explain. We'll talk about that. That's probably the next thing we have to talk about, is building rapport with the agent. And it's going to be written on the offer. We also have a separate document in Docusign that's an escalation clause, an actual document that says escalation clause, that you can complete that. And literally it said the offer is this much. The maximum amount will be this much. And the escalation will go up in increments of X amount, 5,000, right? So we placed an offer for 310. Somebody else came in with an offer 315, bump. We just got bumped up. Our offer is now 320. We're still in the lead. Okay. Someone has to come in, you know, at 350 or 351 to beat us out. Because the highest we're going to go is 350. If someone makes a 347 offer, we're at 350. We're still in the lead. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much. And that's no way to be scammed, right?
Well, you know, if you're representing the buyer and your escalation clause is utilized and you end up getting an accepted offer for 350,000, you can ask the listing agent to present the offer that was at 345. You can say, you know, my buyer would like to see the other competing offer that bumped us up to 350. Now they may scratch out names and in the agent name and the buyer's name, but the document should have all the figures there, and it should have like a date where it was signed that you'd be able to see and share that with your client. So you want, what Kirk is asking is like, who's to say that somebody offered 345 to, you know what I mean? Like, you could just have a listing agent and a seller say, yep, okay, 350 because we got this other offer. It doesn't work that way, right? It all has to be on the up and up. And if you do ask for proof, they should present it. And if they don't, well, then you make a phone call to your broker to intervene and get some help that way. Who has questions on this? Right? This is something that you also, you want to talk to your productivity coach, mentor, sponsor, someone on the ALC about this, particularly if you're guiding a buyer for the first time on an escalation clause. You want to work with someone on this.
A sample
Okay,
would
and-
probably drive the message home.
Say that again, William.
Showing a sample on screen probably would, a visual would probably help.
So I don't have that because I'm also not controlling the slides. But we all have access to an escalation clause in Docusign.
Yeah, it's not in the presentation, so there's not something that we can easily pull up.
Yeah, right. It's not even on this checklist. I just added it because I think it's important. I think it's important. All right. Some other things that are not. What's that?
I was just wondering, in the case of an escalation clause, do you want to put a time limit on it or something? Like, what's to stop the seller from just, you know, accepting more and more offers for 2 more months or something? You know, like,
Well,
not
that's
that
not,
would
I mean,
happen, but
yeah, not in
I'm
this
just saying.
market, right? So not,
Yeah.
just not in this market. So I wouldn't even really discuss it right now. If we were in a different market, you know, you could put, I guess you could put a timeline on it. You could, but you don't need to right now.
Not usually. It's just not an issue right now.
No, and the more constraints you put on a seller, the less they like
Yeah.
you. The
Right.
less they like you. You want to be like totally accommodating to sellers right now. Okay.
But you
make
said in the.
Go ahead, Emily.
I'm sorry. Who did you say does not like this? You started out by saying that certain people didn't like it.
Most agents, they hate it
Why?
because they don't understand it. They don't understand how this can benefit their seller. That's my opinion. So some agents have given me the defense like it's an unfair advantage, and I just want it to be clean. Like what they're saying to me is, I'm not willing to understand it, learn it, and do the work to represent my seller in the best way possible, because an escalation clause can benefit the buyer who's presenting it. It's a strategy, and also get the most money for the seller. If you're representing a seller and you make the decision that you're not taking escalation clauses, it's not your decision.
But that's not on the best interest of the seller, because you potentially losing out on more money for the property.
No, the seller only has opportunity to make more money with an escalation clause.
Right.
So-
But what my question is, if the agent decides to not to put the escalation clause, right? He's not working on the best interest of the seller.
Correct. Thank you. That's my point exactly,
Yeah.
Angelina. That's my point exactly. That's one of my ahas. Great, Kirk. Okay, and so it was a couple years ago, and I went through this process, and the seller said, I don't like escalation clauses. I just want you to just give me an offer with their best number. And I said, have you spoken to the seller about it? She says, no. I said, well, that's the decision of your seller, not you. Your seller has the opportunity to make more money on this. I just don't like it. It doesn't feel right. And honestly, what I was hearing from her is, I don't understand how this works. And I don't know enough to explain it to my client. And I don't know it and understand enough to leverage it to get more money for my seller. That's was my translation. So I'll go up against anyone who says that they don't like escalation clauses. I mean, that's now there could be a downside, you know, their emotions run high with placing offers. I actually do hate highest and best. I don't like highest and best, because highest is not always the best. Sometimes they say final and best, but everyone's placed an offer already. And now you're asking for highest and best with a deadline. And everyone feels like they got to go in like gang stoppers, you know, with they got to put everything into it, and they get caught up in the winning of it. And then you'll see buyers who offer too high and may have remorse. They may get an accepted offer and they pull out. So my strategy, and this is how I work with sellers, and I always share with them, we could do a final and best, or we can trim all the fat. Let's say we have 12 offers. Let's trim the fat off. Let's look at the top 3 and 4. And now let's negotiate with them and leverage those 3 and 4 against each other. And let's just forget about the ones that aren't nearly as strong. You look at terms, you look at the number, you look at everything. And then I work with 3 or 4 offers. You know, if you have 20 offers that come in and then you ask for highest and best, how many offers do you have in front of you now?
40.
40. I mean, I much rather work with like 4 to 8 than 40. I mean, that's, you know, and so that, again, it's not my decision, but that's what I put in front of the seller. Okay. So, all right. Write the offer checklist. All right, let's go to the next screen, unless you guys have questions on that. Offer writing guidelines. Okay, so I don't have this, I don't think, but this is in the oh wait, I do. Turn to page 6 in the participant guide. Here it is. If you guys have that in front of you. And this is giving you some guidelines on writing offers. I'm not going to go through all this. You guys, I'd recommend reading the guidelines. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything. Summarize the offer. All right. I'm going to talk about 2 things when writing the offer, because what's next? Oh, here's guidelines. Ensure your buyer knows. Okay. What's it for that? Cover letter, buyer offer objections, present the offer. Okay. All right, quickly, ensure your buyer knows that all checks are in at the same time. No, in command. Put your offer in command. Do you guys use? Is everybody using command? Put your offer in command. Or you're not going to get paid unless you put your offer in command anyway. So, but it's a great way to track your offers as well. Let's talk about when you. Let me see the next screen, Aaron. I don't remember cover letter. Okay, good. Okay, good. So we talked about all the components that are on the actual offer and all the things that need to be put on there, right? Now, how do we present it to the agent? Does anyone here have a specific way that they present offers to a listing agent? What are some important things to do when you're presenting an offer? Make a phone call. Get on the phone and call the agent. POPA listing agency. Is this attorney, William?
But you're asking what kind of things do you present to the listing agent?
Yes.
So purchase offer, pre-approval or proof of funds, listing, the listing itself, and the agency disclosure.
Thank you. And you know what? I don't even include agency, but some agents do. So pre-approval or proof of funds, the purchase offer, the MLS listing, and perhaps if your broker wants you to include your agency, right? So at least those
I want to add
three.
one thing with regard to agencies. I've had situations where the buyer has been all over the place, and the other agent says, "Oh, by the way, this person came to me first. I'm working with them, so when I have the agency, that's ironclad."
Well, not the agency disclosure itself. That doesn't make you exclusive to them. You would need the exclusive right to represent the buyer in order for that to matter.
Which is part of the same document, so which I present both. Yeah.
No, they are two separate.
They are
documents.
two separate documents.
Yeah. So if you agency will not, does not distinguish you as their agent. It's just explaining the relationship between you and agent. But if you have an exclusive buyer contract, that's what that is binding, but I've never seen that included in an offer. But I do see agency included. I don't, but not a bad practice at all. Not a bad practice. Okay. So you definitely want to include bare minimum, the purchase offer, the pre-approval or proof of funds, and also the MLS listing. Okay, that covers you with all the stuff that's listed in the listing that you may not have transcribed onto the MLS, like the SBL, your section, block, and lot. Those things, the spelling of the name, the address. Like you have to make sure all of that information is correct and double check it, because they're using the purchase offer to create the language on the contract. So all of that needs to be correct. Okay. So now you have those things put together. You're going to email it over to the agent, right? What else are you going to do? You have to make a phone call. All right. You need to develop rapport with the other agent. And so I can't tell you how many times I've gotten offers accepted because the agent and the seller love the fact that I created a rapport, stayed in touch, followed up, and literally sold myself on the phone. I promise you that we will have the smoothest transaction possible, and you will see my communication is excellent, and I will be upfront with you throughout the entire process. And I'll say that to the other agent. And they say, I appreciate that. I said, and please share that. Please share that with the seller. And then I say, and as a matter of fact, I've worked with your colleague before, Ben. Call Ben and see what his experience was working with me. And so I have an accepted offer. It just came in literally before, and this, I'm not lying. It's on 6 Duesenberry. You can look it up on the MLS listing. Accepted offer at 10:45. There was an escalation clause. Ours was not higher than the escalation clause. And we got the offer because of my communication with the agent. Can't make that stuff up. And that is crazy timing. Honestly, I feel weird saying it because it's so like opportune as far as the timing. It sounds made up, but it's the deal. As Maureen Cronin is the listing agent. And we had a great conversation this morning. And she said, the seller likes how you've been staying in touch with us and blah, blah, blah. And we got the deal. So it helps. I know agents, Shane Hennigan would make a video introducing himself if he didn't know the other agent. Hey, this is Shane. Looking forward to working with you. I have an offer that I'm presenting to you. I'm going to send it over an email right now. Let me just highlight, all the details. It's a blank offer. We're waiving the appraisal. We're going to do inspection for informational purposes only. And my buyers are completely flexible with the closing. I wanted to just introduce myself. Hopefully we get a chance to talk later and look out in your email for the offer or whatever, right? But you have to develop a rapport with the other agent. Okay,
How do you send that video?
How did he send
an
it?
email? Send an
Text.
email with a video?
I think he texted.
Oh,
I think he sent it through text and then the email came through to with the purchase offer. Right. And you don't have to do that live. I mean, you could record that and do it 10 times until it's right, but and then send it over to them. So present the offer to the listing agent, notify the listing agent of the incoming offer, send the offer to the agent, set a deadline. We don't set deadlines. I mean, unless you want to be a bully like that, or you're working with a very aggressive buyer who wants to do that. I don't recommend that. Create the offer in command, consult with your buyer when the seller responds. And so I stay in touch with the listing agent. I'll call them the next morning. What's an update? How do we stand? How are things looking? Do you have a timeline that you've worked out with the seller about giving responses or when they're going to make a decision, right? Do you know if you're going to go highest and best? Those are the questions that I ask. How many offers do you have in place already? Are you going to give all the buyers another opportunity to revise their offer? Those are questions and conversations that I have with listing agents. Okay. Hold on, representing the seller. Present the offer. Oh my gosh. You know what? I just came across a buyer objection. When a buyer wants to make a low offer. Oh, there's scripts on working with buyers when they want to make a low offer. It's so painful. It is so painful. Anyone here have a buyer that wanted to offer under ask in this market and they were like just way off course? Anybody? Sherry, yeah? Go ahead. You want to come off speaker quick?
I'm currently not working with the buyer anymore. There was a point where I was working with a client. They did have a VA loan, but they were lowballing like every single house, but also complaining that they're not getting a house. So I had to have that conversation with them. Look, you need to put your best foot forward. If you really want a house in this market, it's really that important to you. Like, these are the facts, and I had to be, very firm with them. The wife was definitely on my side. The husband was like, oh no, we can, oh, it's the winter, we can still lowball. And, it's just not the market. It's just not. I provided them comps in the area. So some of the homes that we did put an offer on, they were listed at a reasonable price. Not really working with them anymore. Wasting my time a little bit.
Correct. And so what's beneficial is to have a buyer consultation up front, right? Where you go and, there's information on that. We have Ignite just on like working with buyers and consultation, where you're setting the expectations up front and sharing market stats and what the market temperature is right now and what they can expect. And that's tremendous, right? Because, back in the day when someone wanted to offer low, you would just say to them, you're risking the chance of, the seller rejecting it or possibly counter offering it. Now you just say, you have no chance. There's no chance. They're not counter offering with you because we know there's going to be multiple offers and we know it's going to be higher. And so, and sometimes buyers need to like feel burned a couple of times and lose an offer or two to really trust you. Okay. Because maybe in the beginning of the relationship, they don't trust everything that you're saying, even though it's the absolute truth. Right. And so they may need to get burnt, but if they get burned 5 times and they're not learning, that's, it's either they need to be educated, or they need to get real, or they need to be let go. And in that case, Sherry, you probably made the right decision, where this is not the right market for them if
Well,
they're looking for a deal.
6 months working with them, 8 offers, and I had to have a serious conversation, and the wife is still texting me like, you were so great with us, like, but comes to a point where you're just wasting a lot of your time and energy. And that's like the sad part, because, I was willing to do everything and drove Westchester, Rockland, and did a lot. But there's just some buyers who I understand they're frustrated with this market, but, lowballing so many offers so many times and getting denied, it's just not the right time for them to buy, because they're not going to get that perfect price for the home that they want.
Yeah, no, it's not happening, right? It's just not happening. And so not all buyers have the stomach for it. And that's okay. And, I do understand that as newer agents, you're just so eager to go out with people who have a pre-approval. You're just so eager. You're like, I got one, I got a client. Let's go look at all these homes. And then you realize that, perhaps I didn't set expectations in the beginning to prepare myself and to prepare them moving forward in this market, in this particular climate, so it's hard, and it all comes with experience also. All right. So we're going to talk now. Representing the seller, receive the offer, gather information about the buyer, present the offer to your client, respond to the offer. So, when representing the seller during an offer, you have a duty to understand every offer that's coming in and accurately presenting it to your seller. So let's go to the next slide.
I have a question about the seller. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Emily.
I'm sorry, slightly off topic, but it relates to how you started out this whole session. How does a seller in this market utilize a CMA?
So that's a great question. So if I'm working with a seller, and this comes down to perhaps pricing strategy too with a listing agent, I always do a CMA before listing a house, and I tell them what their market value is, and I give them a range. And usually if it's a $700,000 and over, I give them a $30,000 range, and under that I give them like a $20,000 range. Your house value is between 350 and 370, and my pricing strategy is let's list it at 360, right exactly what the market is telling us. That's what's going to attract the buyers. That's what's going to bring more people, and let the buyers do all the work driving the price up. Because if you list too high, you can risk the fact that you may have to chase the market and bring it back down, depending on how ridiculous your seller's expectations are. So I hope I'm answering the question. A listing agent should be utilizing a CMA with a seller so they understand and learn what their market value is, to help them come to a number on listing the house, right? And all of that guidance should be coming through you. I give them the range and I give them my recommendation. And in the end, who's driving the ship? Who makes the decision on the list price?
The buyers, the market.
No. When you're listing the asking price, the list price.
Seller.
The seller.
Yeah.
The seller does, right? I mean, you could, like, if someone's completely unrealistic and they want to list $200,000 over ask, I mean, you may not want to represent them, or you're going to have a conversation with, I really feel this is way too high. We don't have any comps that support this number. I have a feeling that we may be chasing the market. And if that's the case, we'll know in 2 weeks if we have no offers and few showings, or lots of showings with no offers. We know we have to make a correction. And so, Mr. Seller, are you open to having that conversation with me in 2 weeks if we have no offers that we need to do a significant price decrease? And if their answer is no chance, I don't know, it's like a difficult seller. I don't know. You have to make that decision whether you want to work with them or not, right? If they say no right up front to that, I mean, they're going to be, I don't know, stubborn about everything else. So am I answering your question?
Yeah, I think so. So if there's a small range um, of prices that are seen through a CMA for that area, for that type of house, you know, you kind of can go in the middle, or just sort of stick within, you just stick within the range that's shown on the CMA and let the buyers potentially drive up the price with, you know, offers.
That's my strategy.
Right.
That's how I like to price. But, you know, sellers are padding their value a lot right now, right? So we're seeing homes that are clearly listed $25,000 over market value easily, and they're still getting that plus more. So, you know, it's
But
it's
that's taking, I guess, a degree of risk, because if it's not, if people don't bite, then you have to lower the price, and the people will see that and they'll wonder what's wrong with the property.
100%, 100%. And it happened to me, right? I wanted the listing. It was in the zip code that I was farming. The seller wanted X amount, and I knew it was going to be difficult, right? And so I did get a $10,000 price decrease out of him, but it was still too high. And what I started to do at that point was I started to market to agents who had FHA and VA buyers who had been rejected from all the other offers that they had placed. And I invited all of those buyers who were FHA and VA to come and look at this house. And we made a deal happen. And in the end, don't ask me how, it appraised.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I know I would have never paid that amount for that house. Right? But somebody out there did. And the appraiser saw the value in it. So, you know, you give the best guidance to your sellers, right? That's going to help them. But in the end, they make the decision, right? And you decide like who you work with and who you don't. But, you know, it's all, I've never turned away a listing. How do you do that? You just, particularly as a newer agent, I got a listing, you just put it up. You just get guidance from other people. You give yourself, you know, you try and develop a good relationship, a trusting relationship with your client. And then, you know, if it's too high, just say, you know, we're going to need to reevaluate in a couple of weeks and potentially lower the price if we have no offers. You know, do you agree with that? Okay. And be a partner with them. Like, let them know that obviously you're trying to sell this house. Everybody wins when you close, right? And everybody wins the more money that they get. Everybody gets paid more money, right? With the highest price. So, and I'm not shy to say that. And, you know, they'll say something about my commission or whatever. I say, listen, I get paid more with the more money I get for your house. So that is my intention, right? And I'm very clear with that. Like, I'm going to get paid, but there's a lot of value in what I offer. Okay. All right. So I review the offer has a checklist here. Hold on one second. All right. I had to yell at my teenage kids. Let's see, checklist for reviewing an offer. Is that where we are? Okay. I don't have this full list, but I'm going to go off of here. This is so tiny. Oh my God. The address, the price.
I'm gonna pull the full list in. Let me know if you guys can actually see it. I'm not sure how my shared screen works. Can you see that?
That's good.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, yay. Okay. Checklist for review. So this is reviewing the offer with the seller, the address, the price, the earnest money. We went over what is earnest money. Time for acceptance, not really applicable in New York. Okay. Pre-approval, absolutely. You know, are they showing proof of funds? Is it a cash deal? Is it a VA loan? Is it FHA? Is it a conventional loan? Okay. Loan approval. Perhaps they have their commitment and loan approval, right? So they're going to need a pre-approval letter from the bank or their lender. Financing terms, make sure the financing terms are agreeable to the seller. closing date, make sure the closing date on the offer will work with your seller schedule. So that might be something that needs to be negotiated too. So like if your seller, maybe they're building their next house and they might need 3 to 4 months, right? You need a buyer who's gonna what? Be willing to wait 3 or 4 months to close, right? And so what does that mean for the buyer? But if they're locking in a rate with their lender, they may have to extend that. Like a lot of things to consider, right? When reviewing the offer. Home warranty, we talked about that before. We don't see it a lot, but every once in a while you may come across it. Conveyances. What are the things that are included in the sale or excluded? Okay. Repairs, we don't see that on the offers. It's negotiated after the inspection, which is after the offer is accepted. Special clauses or contingencies, and we talked about that. What are the contingencies? Appraisals, your home sale contingency, all those things need to be reviewed and acceptable to the seller. HOA seller's disclosure and mold disclosure, again, not applicable in New York. We don't see it. And possession date, negotiate the date the buyers will take possession after closing. For us in New York, it's the same day as the closing date. They get the keys at closing. Okay. Does anyone have questions on this? The things to review and look at with HOA, you should also look into the condo has any special assessments. Yeah. So special assessment is, if the HOA has gone through the development, they realize like we need new sidewalks put in and this whole building needs new roofing. And so a special assessment means they charge all the residents money to get that taken care of. That will increase the HOA fee. Okay. Sometimes assessments come off. And you might want to know that too. This assessment's going to come off in a year, but there's another one that's coming on. Okay. So that's just specific to like condos, townhomes, and developments that have HOAs. Are there other things in the chat that I should be answering? I can't see them all.
Just William had a comment that with HOA, you should also look into if the condo has any special assessments. And then William, if you look up in the chat higher, all of the checklists are in the chat. I posted them earlier in the chat. So you just have to scroll up the chat and maybe I can add them again if I can find them.
Checklist. What did Cassie write here? I did with my buyers, but the house has been on the market for almost 2 years. I'm not sure what that's referring to. That might have been a while ago. All right, so let's go to the next slide. What's the next slide? All right, notify the seller, present the offer in person if possible. Yeah, that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe old school, but like even during COVID, you really weren't presenting in person. Typically it's all by email, unless you have like, an older person or older couple who's not email savvy. You're going to print everything and bring it out to them and spread it out on the table and share with them, or you make a spreadsheet and go through everything with them, update the CMA, present the offer, make a decision, counter, accept, and reject. Okay, so important for you now. You're going to have to decide how you run your business. I kind of shared with you how I handle multiple offers. I as soon as an offer comes into me, I immediately forward it via email to my sellers immediately. And I also put in the subject line offer number 1. And then I say X amount and maybe whatever, special contingency or waiving appraisal or whatever in the subject line, because it helps everyone. And then the next offer that comes in, offer number 2 with the amount and maybe whatever special terms that they have. I also use a different email just for offers, so I don't lose offers in my regular email. Send them immediately over to the sellers, and then we start talking strategy, right? So you talk strategy with your buyer clients, but then there's also strategy with the sellers. How are we going to review the offers? Are we creating a deadline? Are we going to trim off the fat and just talk about the top 4 offers, 3-4 offers? Are we going to do final and best? Do we only have one offer and the seller is not happy with it, so they're not moving forward? Do we need a price reduction? Okay, all of those things. Erin, all the documents you posted in the chat. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'm chatting back and forth about the documents.
Okay. Do you guys have questions on this about going through the offers with the seller? This part of the presentation is much shorter than working with the buyers and presenting an offer. What questions do you have about working with the sellers, reviewing the offers? Right, because this is not, there's a whole other class on negotiating, and that's a fun one too. This is just reviewing and understanding. Right? Go ahead, Sherry.
So I have a random question. So because I've gotten good feedback and like not so good feedback. So I just want to ask you, when you are presenting an offer or before presenting the offer, is it still appropriate to ask the listing agent, do you have above asking? So like some agents have literally been like angry and like hung up on me before for asking that.
Right.
And then some agents will be like, we do have above, like they will say we do have above asking. But like I get nervous sometimes even asking because like, God forbid I rub the listing agent the wrong way. And this did happen to me. I asked, this happened like over the summer, and I called the listing agent. I said, oh, I'm just wondering if you have above asking. And this woman does not work for Keller Williams, but she does know me. And she said, Sherry, you're not a new agent anymore, and hung up on me. So I'm just want to know, do you ask those type of questions when you're working with a buyer and you want to know if they have offers?
Right. So, you know, I love to teach other agents how to talk to agents. I love it. And the first thing I do when I get on the phone with an agent is I always ask them, how are you? And I don't,
of course. I'm like
but
the sweetest woman asking
absolutely. And I'm not
very
saying
nice,
this to
but-
you, Sherry. Like
Yeah.
this is, if, you know, when people ask me like, what kind of agent are you? I tell them, and I've answered in this manner before, I'm the type of agent that the first question that I have for you regarding a deal is, how are you doing today? Right. And so my answer, a lot of it is going to have to do with the rapport that you have with the other agent. Now, is it proper to say, hey, do you have over asking? And what do I need to do to get this deal done? No, they're both like, I don't know if they're unethical, but they're not warrant, like those are questions that you're not supposed to ask. Do I ask them? It depends. It depends on who I'm talking to, how long I've spoken to them, what's the relationship. But I don't ask questions like, do you have over asking?
Okay.
And I don't ask like, where are the offers right now? Or what do I need to do? I'll ask questions like, all right, is my offer competitive? It's different. I didn't ask her what she has. Is the offer that I'm putting in front of you competitive? In your opinion, where we stand? That's like a very general question, but you might get a very specific answer. Oh, well, right now you're in the number 2. Like, oh, I wasn't anticipating that answer, but now I just got it without asking. Right? You can ask, what place are we in? Are we in 3rd place? Or you could say like, how do we stand? What are things looking like? Okay. What's the timeline? Have you spoken to a seller about like a deadline, or do you have any idea when you're going to talk to them, review offers, and when is the seller going to make a decision? Okay. I would say things like, I just want to share this with you because my buyers express this and they feel very strongly about it, that if they were going to get beat out by then they put their best foot forward. But if they were going to get beat out by just a couple $1,000s because their terms are excellent, that they would want to know that, and they would want a second chance. They would want another chance. And so I will say that, right? Because I'm advocating for who? My buyer. I'm not saying anything I can't say, right? But I'm saying it in a way that's inviting and direct. So I got a call last night. I was out to dinner, and this is Maureen Cronin about this deal, right? That I said, we just got an accepted offer at 10:45. I called her last night. She goes, I said, oh, you have good news for me. I said, I feel it. You have good news for me. She goes, actually, no, we got another offer and it has an escalation clause. I said, no, you were supposed to delete that email. What's happening right now? Like, kind of joking with her, like, you should have just deleted that email. She goes, all right, so we have this escalation clause. And so I said to her, because now I have no idea where we stand. I said, okay, what guidance can I give my buyers right now? That's what I asked her. What guidance can I give my buyers right now? She goes, well, you know what? My seller likes you. You've communicated with us. And she just wants to give your buyers just one more chance against this other offer. And that, because she offered me that, I said to her, do you think if my buyers padded their offer by just $3,000 or $5,000 in good faith that they want this house badly, do you think perhaps the seller might say yes to that? And Maureen said yes. And I said, that's all I need to know. Thank you so much. We hung up, talked to my buyers. We put in a few more thousand. And then 10:45, I got an accepted offer. Do you see how that worked? I didn't ask like those direct questions. Do you have over asking? It's like too, I guess, eager and aggressive. And I've asked it before and I've gotten the same response as Sherry's gotten.
So like it's like interesting because like the thing is sometimes I don't like the certain buyers that I'm with, it's always so close to their max budget, it's almost there. So sometimes I do ask kindly, very kindly, do you have over asking? And some agents are great. They're like, look, we have a few or we're not there yet. So, I've gotten mixed, feedback, and sometimes that's really helped my buyers. But
Sure.
Then I don't want to rub, because I consider myself still new, like been here for 2 years. I don't want to rub agents the wrong way. So when they say, how dare you, and hang up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this offer. And I try to be sincere about it because I tell them, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my client's time. Do you mind sharing if you have over? And then like when I have, oh yeah, we have 8 offers, they're higher, sometimes that helps my buyers because they don't get their heart set on it. And they're like, I didn't love it enough. I don't want to put an offer. So then I'm not wasting my time or my client's time.
Right.
But it's just like a hard topic.
So you're asking that before you even place an offer?
So you know how sometimes like on showing time, you can see like, there's, oh my God, it's all black and there's so many people seeing it. Once I show it and my clients really do like it, but it's almost near the budget, we're automatically thinking it's highest and best.
Okay. So let me just give you some language, right? You make a phone call and to the listing agent, and the first question is, do you have an accepted offer yet? Because that they need to disclose that right off the bat. So they say no, and say, okay, do you have offers in? Right. And they say yes. I said, okay, do you think your seller's going to be really happy with the offers that they have right now? How competitive are those offers? Do you see how you're getting the same answer with different questions?
Yeah, I like that question. Like how competitive
are those offers that you have right now? Okay.
Because they may just say right there and then, oh, we have a few over asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, I wouldn't ask those really specific questions until like you're in the mix of like negotiating and your offers in. And if you really want to ask, like, do you have over asking or do you have over X amount? The way I would phrase it would be more like, can I ask you if, or has the seller given you permission to disclose what your offers are? right? Because again, it's not up to the agent, what the agent tells you. They think they have control of it. They're really not supposed to. They're supposed to negotiate. They're not supposed to decide what information they give and what they don't. That's up to the seller. So you could always phrase it, has the seller given you permission to disclose what the offers are? Because in my mind, I want to ask you if you have over asking, but I don't want to ask you the wrong things if you don't have permission to tell me.
Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions? And then if no other questions, we'll go to quick ahas and then we're gonna get off because it's 12:30. Almost. Questions? Are there questions in the chat box by chance? Maybe not.
Not right now, no.
Okay. Questions for me?
Although William did mention if it'd be important to write a dear seller letter. I do know that we have to be careful with those these days based on what you say in the letter.
Yeah, so you cannot say anything that would infringe upon the like pillars of fair housing, right? So you can't talk about family structure. You can't really talk
Can't
about
be, yeah,
anything.
it can't be that my kids love this house or my mother wants to grow old here or anything like that.
Right. You could probably speak like in the first person or from like the buyers. We love this house because of X, Y, and Z aspects of the house. I haven't. I've been getting accepted offers based on my charm and not letters. So I'm not the pro at guiding buyers writing letters. But yes, letters can help. Letters can definitely help. And the idea is like pull on the heartstrings of the seller, but you have to do it the right way, following, fair housing rules and regulations. And, here's a great resource for fair housing and for negotiating and representing buyers. Robin Williams. Wrong last name. Robin White.
Robin White.
Wait, who's Robin Williams?
Robin Williams was an actor.
Robin White, Robin Williams. Oh my God. I don't know what. Robin White, she's in the Hudson Valley United / Middletown office. She's a tremendous buyer's agent with a wealth of knowledge. So look her up if you need some help. Tell her I sent you. She'll love me. If you want any fair housing and for anything buyer's agent related, she's who I call. And I don't call her often, but when I do, she picks up because she knows like I obviously have something I need help with. So I appreciate that, William. I think he said you're a great instructor. Love your energy and insights. That's awesome. I love that. I work with a lot of buyers and learn a few new strategies. So I love to hear that. So I appreciate it. Does anyone else have an aha they want to share? And then we'll get off.
I like
What'd
the
you take
part where
away?
a problem solve what the sellers need to sell before they buy. I think that's pretty good.
Yep. Maybe it's maybe they have too much crap in their house and they just are overwhelmed with that. And so they're not listing because they have too much stuff. And maybe you're the solution for them. Maybe you're finding a connection to do an estate sale or donate their stuff or help them clear out, paying for a cleaning service, whatever it is. You might be the solution for that. Thank you, Kirk. Sherry, did you have something?
I was on the phone, so I don't really know what was said before, but I just wanted to say that this was very, very helpful. You're very approachable. I feel like you can ask questions. So you're amazing at what you do. And I hope you do more of this.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that. I love the feedback. I'm glad you guys got some takeaways from this. And yes, like trying to get the same, I see William's comment, trying to get the same answers by asking and reframing it in a different way that's that comes across less aggressive and more welcoming. I think that's huge. Like the words we use, the way we present ourselves is tremendous, and it will lead to your success. If you start to talk to other agents as a partner rather than a competitor, you're going to go places, build rapport. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Sure.
About getting, in terms of getting listings and what's going through potential sellers' minds, which, as you said, is where are we going to live? Or you just brought up enough. So you had this great suggestion, which is to perhaps know about rentals that they could live in the interim while they get something else. And then you also just mentioned that some people are not selling because they feel like they've got a mess in their house and they just don't really want to deal with it. But people also are afraid to move, even if they want to move from a particular area. They may be afraid to move because, well, it's so expensive everywhere else. So they're afraid that they're not going to get something. So, let's say if they're moving out of state, they want to move out of state. So any suggestions with respect to that?
Absolutely. So the question is learning what their motivation is. Okay, so if they're going south, maybe it's to be, I'm just gonna make it up, I don't know. They have allergies up here, and the south will clear their allergies. And their grandparents live down south, right? So you're gonna always bring it back to their motivation. My goal is to help you get down south because you sound very stuffy right now. And I know that you're going to feel way better when you go down south and it's going to like clear out your allergies. And I know you've been dying to see your grandkids more often. And that's exactly what I'm going to help you do. And so let's talk about the steps to get that done. And so you need to keep reminding them of the why, what's their motivation for moving, because in the end, that's what's going to get them to take action. Right. And then you help them with the steps to get there. So you got to find out why are they moving? If they don't have to move, then you're probably not going to get them to move. But if they have a motivation to move, I love the water, I want to be closer to water. Well, you just start talking about fishing, boating, and getting closer to the water. And I'm here to help you get close to the water, which is your goal, right? That's your retirement goal. That's your whatever goal. And I'm here to help you get there. That's my, because it's a tough one. Like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to live, or how am I going to afford it? And, you're selling high and you're buying high. So there are some like objection handlers to that, but you do always want to go back to what is their motivation. I hope that helps, Emily.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Last aha, one more. We all done? All right, guys. So thank you so much for being on the Ignite class. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
good luck to everyone. Look me up. I don't know. Look me up on Facebook or get my phone number from your team leader if you need to reach out. Should I put my phone number quick in the chat? Would that help?
If you wouldn't mind.
Yep, let's do it. You can also write it down. I'll say it out loud. It's 917-667-0906. Call or text me anytime. Happy to help. All right.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Have a productive day. Take care.
Thanks,
Good luck.
Alison. Bye.
Bye.